a Himachali cap, a shawl, and a memento of the university anthem. A very warm welcome, sir. Thank you. With a bouquet, a shawl, and a cap. A warm welcome, sir. Thank you. I would now invite our Honorable Vice-Chancellor for his welcome address, please.
His Excellency, Dr. Lobsang Sangay, Prime Minister of Tibet in Exile, Mr. Tsering Wangchuk, Honorable Health Minister of Government of Tibet in Exile, Professor Suresh Kumarji, Dean Studies, our Registrar, Professor Mohan Jhaita ji, Chief Coordinator of this event known as the University Lecture Series, Professor T.C. Bhalla, Coordinator of this particular lecture, Professor Vijay Sharma ji, our Deans, Chairpersons, professors, officers, employees, ladies and gentlemen. It's our profound privilege to have a scholar of repute, a person dedicated to the service of society and humanity with us, known as Dr. Lobsang Sangay. I, on behalf of University Fraternity, welcome Your Excellency to our university, to this campus. I was just mentioning to my friends just now that we are trying to bring Honorable Prime Minister of India, Manmohan Singh, to our university. And I think it's becoming difficult, but no matter, we have another Prime Minister with us, Prime Minister of Tibetan Government in Exile. Professor Lobsang has got a pleasant personality. I think his detailed curriculum vitae will be presented by the coordinator. But what I could learn from him, he was born in Darjeeling, very small family. And God was so great to him that he joined Delhi University for his law degree. And selected by the Fulbright scheme as a Fulbright fellow, he went to Harvard, where he did his master's in law as well as a doctorate in law. Then he taught in the Department of Law there in Harvard University for about 7 years. And I think this is all his pursuit towards academics as well as concern to serve the humanity. He was elected as the Prime Minister of Tibetan Government in Exile. So we all join hands to congratulate you. And we are having many expectations also from you to bridge the gap between the powerful and powerless communities of the world. Because this is high time we say that we have She reached in the 21st century, but so many things could have happened which are not happening. And reason is that the powerful persons, powerful countries don't have hearts and souls with them. If they possess soul and hearts also with them, I think these type of dichotomies, these type of disparities, imbalances of globe could have not been witnessed today. Why one community should suffer on account of an individual's ambitions to suppress. He is going to address several issues, and the topic which he has selected is democracy in exile, a case study of Tibet he is going to present to us today. Sir, we have initiated a university lecture series, and the first lecture was delivered by Professor A.D.N Bajpai, who is the Vice-Chancellor Shivaji University, Kolhapur. He spoke about the challenges of higher education which are being faced today. And this is, I think, glorious lecture being delivered by you under this university lecture series only. And third lecture we are going to have day after tomorrow by a JSPS fellow, Japanese Scholarship Promotion of Science, Professor Mimura, who is a noted scientist, not only of Japan but also globally. He is a respected one. 25th we are going to have another lecture. With these words, I once again welcome you, sir, to our university. Bless our university with a humble request that till date the feet of His Holiness Dalai Lama Ji have not come to our campus. Please help us bringing His Holiness Dalai Lama Ji to our university. Thank you once again.
And we are extremely honored to have amongst us the Honorable Prime Minister of Tibetan Government in Exile, Dr. Lobsang Sangay, who will deliver a lecture on Democracy in Exile, the Case of Tibet.
Thank you, Professor Vijay Sharma-ji, for kind introduction. I'm honored and privileged to be here at Himachal Pradesh University, and also would like to thank and honor and privilege to Vice-Chancellor Professor A.D.N Bajpai ji, and also others on the stage, Professor Mohan Jarta ji, Suresh Kumar ji, T.C. Balaji, for hosting this event. On behalf of the Central Tibetan Administration, first I would like to say in Tibetan, Tashi Delek, which means good wishes. In Hindi, Namaskar. With the blessing of Saraswati ji, I hope I'll be able to live up to the expectation of Vice-Chancellor Bajpai ji, because he gave me two jobs of Himalayan proportion. One, I have to be able to speak or replace or replicate Prime Minister Manmohan Singh. Two, I have to now invite and have His Holiness Dalai Lama come to Himachal Pradesh University. These are of Himalayan proportion. I thought I'll just come here and speak a few words and leave, but now I have to be as strong as Hanumanji to carry the whole mountain. I know I will not be able to fulfill that expectation, but I'll do the best I can to at least say a few words on democracy in exile, the case of Tibet. Before that, as you might know, I'm here today to celebrate the Himalayan Festival. Today here in Shimla, Honorable Chief Minister Rajaji kindly inaugurated the festival, and there were cultural performance from Bhutan, Sikkim, Kinnaur, Ladakh, and Tibetans as well. So what we are trying to do is showcase the diversity, the beauty, and the rich culture of the Himalayan region, so that we can, in a way, revive and relive the historical relationship between Tibet and the Himalayan region. As you might know, Tibet is a great and ancient civilization, rich heritage with its own language, and Tibetan Buddhism is best preserved in Tibetan language as of now, and His Holiness Dalai Lama has traveled far and wide around the world, and there are millions of followings of His Holiness Dalai Lama, and wherever he travels, with his popularity, Tibet is also well known, and with that support also. So I just want to thank first the government of India and the great nation of India, and especially the people of India, for hosting Tibetans for all these years, and especially the great state of Himachal Pradesh for hosting Tibetan administration for this many years. In some ways, I'll try to share with you what your neighbor, rather Dharamsala, the Tibetan administration, has been doing for the last 50 years. Before that, perhaps it's best I start with my own personal story, so you might get to know who I am before trying to understand what I have to say. As Vice-Chancellor Ji introduced, I was born and brought up in a place called Darjeeling. It's well known for tea. I don't know whether the Darjeeling tea is better or the Himachal tea is better, but we will leave that to tea experts. But I literally grew up next to a tea garden called Lopchu. So I call myself I'm from Darjeeling, but actually I'm from Lamahata Basti. So I grew up in a small village between Darjeeling and Kalimpong. I studied in Tibetan refugee school, eating dal bhat every day for dinner for 10 years. And the dumpling, as we call in Tibetan, tingmo, that we used to get, and the sabji is not as spicy and tasty as you get in Indian restaurants. Our dumpling is also not as white and soft as you get in Chinese restaurant or Tibetan restaurant here. When you throw, it bounces higher actually. It's hard and hard. So grew up in Basti, it's called Lamahata Basti. So I used to spend my winter vacation, which is about 2 months, go to the forest, cut wood for a home, cut grass for cows, and help my mother milk cows. When I say help my mother milk cows means I have to clean cow dungs. How many of you have done that? Oh, I have some friends here. Yes, proud friends. Basti wala jindabad. And then from the village, as I said, I went to Tibetan refugee school in Darjeeling, then to St. Joseph College for 2 years, worked quite hard, went to Delhi University. I was very active in Tibetan Youth Congress, participated in many demonstrations and rallies, knew Chinese embassy very well, and also the Chanakyapuri police station. Each time you go to Chinese embassy, you have to go to the police station, you know. So we knew the SHO, the section officer, quite well actually, you know. We used to be friends. Sometimes he say, Lobsang ji, aaj bhi aa gaya, chalo chalo yahan baitho. Chai pee lena. 2 ghante ke baad jana, nahi to phir tang degi. So at one time actually when I was coming from the US, I met one, nice looking, gentle looking person. And he came and shook my hands and said, Lobsang ji, It's me, Kumar. I said, Chalo, आप कहाँ से हैं कैसे मालूम नहीं हम वहाँ चनाकीपुरी पुलिस स्टेशन में थे And I said, आज क्या कर रहे हैं मेरे एयरपोर्ट पे पीछे कर रहा है अब इतने साल के बाद नहीं मेरा आजकल ड्यूटी एयरपोर्ट में ही है इसलिए I was a little worried that he was following me, you know, even after 10 years. But in the sense, perhaps I can say this, the police station reflected how Indian people perceived and treated Tibetans. Even though they have to do their duty of putting us in, you know, police van and taking us to the police station. वहाँ पहुँचे तो फिर चाय खाओ मैं बिस्कुट खाओ थोड़ी देर बाद हाँ. So they had their soft corner, their support and sympathy was always there. So they always say, आप मेरा ड्यूटी कर रहे हैं तो आप ड्यूटी कर लो 15 मिनट ले लेना जो शोर मचाना मचा लो उसके बाद हम आ जाता हूँ. So from Delhi University, I worked quite hard, and then I got Fulbright scholarship to go to Harvard Law School, did my master's degree, and then worked extra hard, meaning I studied 13 to 16 hours a day. Finally managed to get into doctorate degree at Harvard Law School itself. Then worked very hard again. I was very active actually traveling around the world, speaking on behalf of Tibet. Then finally I graduated in 2004 as Vice-Chancellor just shared. He got a scholarship to go to Moscow. He could not because his father passed away. But actually, after a month of my graduation in 2004, my father passed away. So in fact, he lived to see that I graduated from Harvard Law School. Having said that, my parents actually didn't know what I was doing. Because when after class 10 in Darjeeling, when I went to St. Joseph College, then to Delhi University, Hansraj for BA, then for LLB, then went to Harvard, one day my parents asked me, son, how come you are not graduating from college? You are spending more time in college than in high school, you know. Because after you graduate from high school, people think you have graduated. You are taking 10 more years, you know, 12 more years. And because they were not that educated. But finally I made it. Then fortunately Harvard Law School employed me as a scholar from 2004 to 2011. And then 2011, Tibetans around the world voted and elected me, and I left America, and I left Harvard Law School, and I left American coffee, Starbucks coffee, and come here and I'm drinking Indian chai and enjoying it too. Now, about Tibetan democracy. Now you know who the candidate is. So in 2010, 11, there were a lot of talks about the election of the Kalon Tripa. Many people thought this will be the crucial election because of His Holiness' age. There were a lot of websites, several websites, who were promoting the election, making sure everybody participate, so there were more candidates than previous election, because Tibetans tend not to volunteer to be candidates, you see. They're little shy and humble. Finally, several websites and newspapers started mentioning my name for various reasons. Actually, I was a candidate by default. A friend of mine created this kalontripa.org website. He put my name on top. Everybody thought I was a candidate. I was not. He wanted other candidates to come, so he put me as a dummy candidate. Then people started taking me seriously, and all the websites and radio stations, they started mentioning my name. And after some time, it got into my head. I said, hey, maybe people really want to see me get elected, you know. Some websites mentioning my name. Then I called some of my friends, because I've spent 16 years in America. Never worked in the Tibetan administration as a bureaucrat, as a secretary, as a member of parliament, as a minister, never, nothing. Can you imagine trying to be the political head of the Tibetan people with no experience whatsoever in 16 years in America? After websites and radio stations start mentioning my name, I called some of my friends, one friend who was an insider of Dharamsala, who knew how the Dharamsala politics and establishment function, I called him up and said, hey, I'm thinking of running for election. What do you think? And he said, okay. Are you sure? And I said, yes. The first thing you need is a graceful exit strategy. Then I called my other friend. He was an insider, but a little bit outside. I thought I might get encouraging coming from him. He said, give me 2 days, I'll call you back. Okay. After 2 days, he calls back and says, I talked to all my friends. In Dharamsala and Washington, D.C., no one is voting for you. And I said, did you tell them you're my friend, you're my best friend? He said, yes, absolutely. The friends or best friends are not voting for me, so you get the message. In desperation, I call a businessman. He's a risk taker, so he might have some encouraging words. And he listened to me, and finally he said, Lobsang, you should run. I said, that's very good. I said, why? Because you have nothing to lose. You're going to lose election, run, get some experience, then that's it. So with that encouragement, and the conventional wisdom at that time was 99% I would lose. Even I thought I had a chance by 2%. 98% I thought I would lose as well. But anyway, what the heck? I thought I'll travel to some of the Tibetan settlements, talk to Tibetans, share my ideas, mainly to have a participatory, competitive election. I thought I'll just run from place to place and see what happens. But so it happened, the Tibetans were quite interested to hear what I have to say, actually. So each time I went to Tibetan settlement, more and more people came out to listen to me, and I came here in Shimla as well. So the turnout, wherever I went, was bigger and bigger. But I didn't know whether that would translate into election votes or not. And one thing for sure, in the Tibetan election, you can't run the conventional way of running. That is, you can't promise bread, butter, and shelter and think you'll get votes. If you promise bread, butter, and shelter, you will not get votes. Why? Because it's a struggle, it's a movement. So I didn't mention bread, butter, and shelter, but I talked about the status of the Tibetan movement, where we are, what can we do, cannot do. And finally, the preliminary election happened, and I got the most votes. So you see, things happen. Then the final round of election was on March 20th. Now, Tibetan election and Tibetan democracy is a serious business. We have been doing it for the last 50 plus years. For example, on March 20th, in Ladakh, Changdang area, it was so cold it was minus 40 degrees. But the local election officials carried the ballot boxes on the backs of yaks and donkeys and climbed mountains 5,000 meters high and had these nomads come down and vote. So from Alaska to Australia, because the problem is Tibetans are scattered in 40-some countries. So it was not a district-based election, it was not a state-based, it was not even nation-based, it was cross-continent-based. So we had debate in Delhi, Switzerland, Toronto, and Washington, D.C., and I was back in India in 8 days' time. So that kind of election. Actually, one day, 2 relatives, I was told, were debating or rather arguing who was wrong. Because the one relative said, oh, Lobsang Sangay is going to be in Delhi. The other relative said, no, it can't be because he's going to be here tomorrow in Switzerland. But both were right, because I had one debate in Delhi. Same night I took the night flight and then participated at the event in Switzerland. So that kind of election. Now, what kind of Tibetan, now when I say Tibetan democracy, I specifically mean by there is a meaning behind it. It was not like ye nahi karega, hum karega, wo nahi karega, hum karega kind of election, you see. For example, we had a debate. There was a Buddhist element to this democracy as well. There was a debate in Darjeeling, there was debate in Dharamsala. Next day, the debate was in Delhi. And after the debate, two of the candidates, we looked at each other and said, okay, let's go to Delhi together. Share one taxi together. And the organizers of the debate in Delhi were also looking for a taxi. They also hopped in. So 4 of us drove from Dharamsala to Delhi in the same taxi. 2 candidates and the organizers of the debate. We drove. Obviously, the taxi wala, he really wanted to drive fast because it was the middle of the night. So he followed a traffic rule which says, green, keep driving, yellow, keep driving, red light, look, keep driving, you know. In the middle, each time we wake up, we get horrified, you know, he keeps driving, even red light, you know. Thankfully, we made it to Delhi, a place called Majnugarh. There's a Tibetan camp. As usual, the Tibetan organizers are quite laid back. We do a pretty good job, but we are quite laid back. So finally at 2 a.m., they were knocking doors in Majnugarh looking for rooms, hotel rooms. They have not booked hotel rooms for us, the other candidates. Finally, they got 2 rooms in one hotel, and 2 of the candidates, me and Tenzin Tetola, shared one room, and the organizers shared other room. Next day, we had good breakfast together, good round of debate, good lunch together, and gave each other our campaign tips. So this is a prescription to हमारा भारतीय नेता लोगों को इलेक्शन के समय share your taxis together, share hotel rooms, it will bring the cost down. And if you have joint event together, it will also bring the election expense also down. I say this because Tibetan democracy is very much a part of Indian democracy. Our charter, Tibetan charter, is based on Indian constitution. Our parliamentary system is also based on Indian parliamentary system. There is 0 hour, they ask us questions. They submit questions, marked questions, and we have to answer all that. So we in the executive branch don't necessarily look forward to parliamentary session. So March 20th was the final round of election. Now what happened on March 10th? That's a national uprising day. That's the day in 1959 in Tibet. Tibetans from all across Tibet gathered in Lhasa to prevent His Holiness the Dalai Lama from going to the Chinese military camp next door. And after that bloodshed happened, Tibet was occupied. More than 1 million have died. 98% of monasteries and nunneries of Tibet were destroyed. And even today, the occupation continues. So on March 10th, every year we celebrate or we observe National Uprising Day. On that day, His Holiness Dalai Lama makes the annual speech, like the State of the Union or the Prime Minister's speech in India. But on March 10th of 2011, His Holiness Dalai Lama had a very surprising news. And I was at the back end of the podium listening to His Holiness. And then in his speech he says, from today on, I have decided to separate the church and the state, spiritual authority from political authority. Now whoever is elected has to take the whole political responsibility. I nearly lost my balance because I thought I was running for election to serve His Holiness Dalai Lama and the Tibetan people. Then he says, no, if you get elected, you have to take the whole political responsibilities. Can you imagine yourself to be in that state? If you're asked to fill in the shoes of His Holiness Dalai Lama, what would you think? Nobel Peace Prize laureate, global statesman, advocate of ahimsa. Who am I? Nobody. And for Tibetans, this is very important because for 400 years, the institution of Dalai Lama has been both the political and spiritual leader for 400 years. And he was changing it that day. And for Tibetans around the world, inside Tibet, we cannot imagine a day without His Holiness Dalai Lama as our leader. And he made the shocking, surprising news that day. And I thought to myself, what am I supposed to do? But unfortunately, no one was worried about me, including my mother. Everybody was worried about the His Holiness decision. That made Tibetans very nervous, because we cannot fathom a day without His Holiness Dalai Lama as our leader. Now, the unfortunate part for me was that March 20th, 10 days later, was the final round of election. Normally you can give family reasons to withdraw. Many politicians do. मेरा बीबी को बच्चे के लिए हम थोड़ा रेस्ट लेंगे, कुछ वैसी. I can't, because as I told you, this is not bread, butter and shelter kind of election. This is a Tibetan struggle. It's a Tibetan movement. Now being a front runner to withdraw amounts to betraying your cause. But I didn't bargain to come here and to replace His Holiness as the political leader. Very difficult position. 400 years of history. And given the state of Tibetan struggle now, with rising China as the next superpower, what am I supposed to do? But then, as we say in academia, you reach paralysis through analysis. I say, enough of analysis. Jo mere takdir mein wo hoga, this is my karma. I'll just do it. So with that decision, I ran. 10 days later, I won. And here I am today, after 2 years and 3 months. So the job I have is a very difficult one, a challenging one. As Honorable Vice-Chancellor Ji clearly said, power and powerless. They say there is an asymmetric power dynamic. On the one hand, we have this powerful China. On the other hand, we have this, Tibetans on the other side. So this has been going on for 50 plus years. And the situation in Tibet now is going bad to worse. You might have heard 122 Tibetans have committed self-immolation. 122 Tibetans have burned themselves. More than 100 have died. Just in the last 2 years plus. There was one case in 2008 in Delhi and one case in 2009. Rest of the self-immolation took place from March 16th of 2011. Now imagine, we all are human beings. No one wants to suffer. Even someone scolds you, it hurts you. If someone slaps you, you want to slap back. To put kerosene over your body and to light yourself in that moment of pain, to cry a slogan that His Holiness the Dalai Lama should return to Tibet, and we need freedom for Tibetans. These are the two universal slogans of all the self-immolators. On the one hand, the self-immolation reflects desperation. On the other hand, it reflects their determination. Repression is so unbearable, and Tibetans are resisting in the very tragic form of protest. Now, of these 122 Tibetans, not even a single one of them have harmed any Chinese person or even a Chinese property. They harmed themselves, but they have not harmed even a single Chinese person or a property. Now, as far as Tibetan administration is concerned, we have made repeated, categorical, and consistent appeals to Tibetans in Tibet not to resort to self-immolation. But it continues, even today. Just 2 weeks ago, there was one unfortunate case, sad case. Now, what do we do? Tibet in the larger context is very important for South Asia, for India, even for Himachal Pradesh. Tibet is called the third pole. After Antarctica and Arctic, Tibet has the third highest reserve of ice. When the glaciers of Tibet melt, it forms into rivers. Satluj River, Indus River, it starts from Tibet, flows to India, through Ladakh to Kashmir, then goes to Pakistan. Brahmaputra River starts in Tibet, comes to India and flows to Bangladesh. Mekong River, Salween River, Yangtze River, Yellow River of China, all flow from Tibet. So in that sense, Tibet is vital for more than 1 billion people as far as water is concerned. Now some scientists say, you might have heard Brahmachalani included, they say that before, wars were fought over land during the colonial days. Nowadays, wars are fought over energy. Soon, wars will be fought over water. And we all know when Chief Minister, Honorable Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee refuses to share Tista River with Bangladesh, it creates a bit of a tension between India and Bangladesh. So are with the rivers of Satluj and Indus between India and Pakistan. But all these rivers flow from Tibet. And also, this year we all know, we are talking, the monsoon in Himachal Pradesh was a lot longer than necessary perhaps. It started early in April, it lasted till October. Honorable Chief Minister Ji was telling me, this year we started in winter, April, then throughout it was rainy season. Before autumn came, the winter has set in. But then it has also direct connection to Tibet. Because the mist that is formed in the Bay of Bengal and Indian Ocean, it forms into cloud. Then it hits the Tibetan plateau. Then it forms into rainfall. So whether the monsoon is delayed or not, again it has direct connection to Tibet. And geopolitically also, because the vast territory of Tibet is linked with India, from Jammu and Kashmir all the way to Ladakh, all the way to Arunachal Pradesh. It's one of the longest border between India and Tibet, now under occupation of China. So border tension, incursion, all these have direct connection to Tibet. So not just Buddhism, which was brought from India through Nepal to Tibet, not just the Tibetan scripture, as we read in Hindi, ka kha kha nga anga. In Tibetan is ka kha kha nga. We don't have anga part, but we have. And our culture is very much related. In that sense, Tibet issue is an issue of preserving an ancient civilization, a Buddhist civilization, rich heritage, and also very rich environment with all the water resources and snows, glaciers. And also geopolitically, Tibet is vital for India as well. Indian government spends billions of dollars on security. But when Tibet was free, not even a single sepoy was needed in the border of Tibet and India. Now you have to spend billions of dollars. Shimla agreement was signed in 1914 between the Tibetan Prime Minister then and the British India. And the person who represented British India was Sir McMahon. And through that agreement, called Shimla Agreement in 1914, McMahon Line is the preferred border by India. And it has direct connection to Tibet because it was Tibet who signed that document, not China. So if McMahon Line is the border, then the Shimla agreement is valid. If Shimla agreement is valid, the Tibetan government at that time was sovereign nation. So Shimla has a direct connection to the issue of sovereignty of Tibet. So hence, I urge University of Himachal Pradesh to look into this document, look into this history, and perhaps contribute towards the settlement of border issues between two countries. So with that, I just want to say that Tibet is vital for India, and Tibetan democracy is very much an adoption of Indian democracy. And we have a parliament which meets twice a year, and we have a judiciary, actually, it's called Supreme Judicial Commission, which tries civil cases only, not criminal cases, on the basis of arbitration, because we can't try, criminal cases and other cases. It's an arbitration base. So it's in Dharamsala, it's functioning, is one of the most effective administration as far as refugees are concerned, because we run our own schools, we run our own refugee camps, we run our own health clinics and hospitals for a very limited sum of budget. For example, Health Kalon is here. He's sitting next to Professor Bala and Vice-Chancellor Bajpai ji. But his salary, I'm pretty sure, is 1/5 of your salary. Our employees in Tibetan administration, their salary is highest is 22 or 23,000 rupees a month. I left my job at Harvard for this. Why? This is a labor of love. Even though we are born and brought up in India, Tibetan officials are committed to the Tibetan cause. That's why they are willing to work for limited salary. Health Minister, Health Kalon, he has a degree from Poland. He studied there for 8 years. He left Poland and came to Dharamsala to work for the administration. And we have others who have left America and Europe and come to Dharamsala to work for the Tibetan cause. If you think that the Tibetan administration is very well funded, it's not that funded. It's frugally managed. Austerity is the norm. We all take less salary. We all spend very frugally. That's how we manage all the schools, all the hospitals, and our offices around the world. And also Tibetans, by and large, are law-abiding residents of India. I'll give you a case and then end my presentation. We all know Chandigarh is near, Ludhiana is also near. Tibetans are good businessmen. They are hardworking businessmen. Every year, in the month of June, July, and August, several thousand Tibetans go to Ludhiana and meet all the Lala or Sardarjis who sell sweaters, wholesale sweaters. And the transaction goes this way. A Tibetan person goes to the Lala and says, Lala ji, mere ko 3 lakh, 5 lakh ka sweater dena. And Lala ji notes, what's your name? Tenzing. Vyapar kahan kar raha hai? Jaipur. That's it, Tenzing and Jaipur. No collateral. Nothing. Take 5 lakhs rupees of sweater. Lala just writes name and the place. And after 5 months, in the month of January, Lala goes to Jaipur. Tenzing will be running to give him the money back. So every year, crores and crores rupees of transaction takes place, just on the basis of name. You don't even have to know. Why these Lalas in Ludhiana trust Tibetan people for 50 years? Because Tibetans are law-abiding residents. I heard in Karnataka, the electricity board is providing 24 hours electricity to Tibetans and water supply also. Why? 99.9% of Tibetans pay the electricity bill and water bill on time. Hence, electricity board and water board find them profitable. So yes, we have some cases of illegality. We have some Tibetan youth included who makes problems, who create troubles for us. But by and large, we believe in ahimsa, we follow nonviolence, we try to be as moral and as ethical as possible. Having said that, obviously, we make mistakes. So having spent 50 years in India and in the state of Himachal Pradesh, sometimes when you see some Tibetans, you might think, ye yahan kya kar raha hai, ye illegal kar raha hai, nahi kar raha hai. There might be some troublemakers, but by and large, we are always very grateful to India, to the great people of India, and to the state of Himachal Pradesh, and the loving and kind and generous people of Himachal Pradesh. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, sir. Now I would like to request Dr. T.C. Bhalla, Professor of Biotechnology, to kindly propose a vote of thanks, sir.
His Excellency Dr. Lobsang Sangay, Honorable Prime Minister of Tibetan Government in Exile, Honorable Vice-Chancellor Professor A.D.N Bajpai, Dr. Tsering Wangchuk, Honorable Health Minister of Tibetan Government in Exile, Dean of Studies Professor Suresh Kumar, Professor Mohan Jharta, Registrar, Himachal Pradesh University, distinguished guest accompanying His Excellency, our deans, directors, all faculty members from various departments, our officers and employees of the university, students and persons from media. The university community is thankful to His Excellency for accepting the invitation of our university to visit our university and to deliver a lecture and to bring the university community very near to the mission of Tibetans and the Tibetan democracy, how it works. In a very simple language, the very good message, the journey from a child to the top position of the Tibetan government, that is Prime Minister, a political power in Tibetan government or Tibetans. So such a journey, how he moved. So in a very simple language, His Excellency told, and very good messages he conveyed to the politicians all over the world, businessmen all over the world, people, how cordial relations we can have. So these are the very good messages for the youth of the country, for we Indians. And his talk has brought very close the university as well as the Tibetan people together. It has furthered our understanding about the people of Tibet who are living with us in India. Although we were not knowing so much about the people of our Tibetans, people living with us, but sir, your talk has really made us enlightened and sensitized about all these issues which you have spoken. And also, we are grateful to you for the mission which you have, mission and vision about the people of Tibetans who have suffered, who are suffering a lot in Tibet. And I hope that we all hope and wish that you succeed in decreasing that atrocities and aggression, and you are able to save that that aggression as well as atrocities, or the way the monuments, the way the attack on the religion, all these have been disturbed. So it will be with your efforts, definitely you will succeed, the Tibetans will succeed to attain that day will come when this mission and wisdom will be seen practically. And we are thankful to our Honorable Vice-Chancellor, who is the guiding force, inspiring force for starting new initiatives in the university. And University Lecture Series is one such initiative. And thank you, sir, that with your wish and with your mission, we have been able to see the Honorable Prime Minister of Tibetan government with us, and this has made this day a historical day in our university. Indeed, a historical day. We are thankful to our Vice-Chancellor, Professor A.D.N Bajpai. The organizers of this University Lecture Series are thankful to Dean of Studies and his office, Registrar and his office, and especially Professor O.P. Chauhan, who has provided us a big support in organizing this lecture. And we are thankful to our distinguished guest and our deans, directors, all teachers, all professors, my colleagues, students, officers, officials from the university, and persons from the media who has made it possible to be here this evening on this historical day. They have been with us, and I thank all of you, and once again I thank one and all of you who made it possible to be here on this occasion. Thank you.